Look at this image. If it feels uncomfortable, good. Because your mind is not normal. And that is not an insult. It is a diagnosis most people never get. Some people hear a constant voice in their head, narrating everything, judging everything, replaying conversations. Others hear nothing at all. And here is the problem. If you do not understand which one you are, people will keep misunderstanding you, and you will never know why. Let's look at a concrete example. Meet Marina. She is 28 years old, sitting in a meeting. Her boss asks, "What do you think?" She hears the question perfectly. But for 4 seconds that feel like 4 minutes, her mind does this. It checks the political context of the room, anticipates how every word will be received, reviews 3 different versions of the answer, and edits the tone. By the time she finally opens her mouth, everyone has already moved on. Someone whispers, "Why is she so slow?" Marina isn't slow. She is running a different operating system that nobody around her can see. Here's something most people never tell you, not because it is secret, but because they assume everyone experiences it. Not everyone has an inner monologue. This isn't just internet theory. Decades of research into inner experience, including work by psychologists like Russell Hurlburt, suggest a reality that contradicts our most basic assumptions. A vast number of people do not experience constant inner narration. Some people hear a constant voice in their head, commenting on everything, narrating life like a badly funded podcast that never shuts down. Others do not. They think in images and sensations and sudden clarity without words. And some people, this part always shocks people, experience almost complete mental silence. No commentary, no narrator. No voice arguing with them at 3 in the morning. Yes, that means while your mind is debating life choices, someone else is just standing there, peacefully existing, and wondering why you look so tired. Imagine spending 30 years thinking your way of processing reality was universal, only to realize you have been living on a cognitive island the whole time. If this feels unfair, you are not wrong. If this feels validating, you probably spent years thinking something was wrong with you. It is not. Your mind is not broken, it is just not common. This difference alone already explains more about your life than most personality tests. If you have an inner monologue, you do not just think, you rehearse. You replay conversations in the shower. You prepare arguments that never happen. You rewrite sentences in your head. Sometimes 3 different versions, just in case. You do not move slowly because you are unsure. You move slowly because your mind refuses to skip steps. Think of it this way. Your mind is a diesel engine. It takes a few extra seconds to warm up and get moving, but once it does, it has enough torque to pull a freight train for 500 miles without stopping. Their mind is a starter motor. It sparks instantly, reacts immediately, but it needs to be refueled every 50 miles. Neither engine is broken. The problem is that we are all competing on a Formula 1 track that only measures the first 10 meters. Meanwhile, people without a constant inner voice move fast. They decide fast. They speak fast. And then they look at you and say things like, "Just say what you think," or my personal favorite, "You're overthinking this." Which is a fascinating accusation, coming from someone whose thoughts do not echo at all. You are not indecisive. You are thorough. You are not dramatic. You are processing. And no, thinking in paragraphs does not make you weak. It just means your brain refuses to work in bullet points. Your mind is an old library full of secret passages. You don't run, you explore. Their mind is the Autobahn. Fast, linear, efficient, and loud. Here is the uncomfortable truth. We did not design this world for thoughtful minds, we designed it for fast ones. And this system has a name, attention capitalism. An economy that literally profits from speed. Every time you hesitate, every time you need a moment to process, you are creating friction in a world addicted to seamless consumption. If you respond too slowly, people assume you have nothing to say. If you pause before answering, they think you are insecure. If you say, "I need a moment to think," they hear weakness, not responsibility. Because thinking is apparently suspicious now. Silence makes people uncomfortable, so they fill it with noise, opinions, hot takes, and confidence they borrowed 5 seconds ago. Algorithms promote reaction, not analysis. They train you to be fast, not right. Meanwhile, your mind is doing something dangerous. It is considering consequences. And that does not look impressive in a culture addicted to immediacy. You live in a world that confuses speed with intelligence, volume with confidence, and simplicity with truth. So yes, sometimes you feel out of place. Not because you are behind, but because you are operating on a different depth setting. Here's the twist most people miss. Having an inner monologue does not make you smarter. And not having one does not make someone shallow. This is not a hierarchy. It is a difference in operating systems. Some minds process depth first. Others process action first. Some people explore ideas internally, others explore them out loud. Neither is superior. They're just incompatible by default. The problem is assuming everyone is running the same mental software. If this sounds familiar, this part is probably about you. You think about what you are going to say long before you say it and long after the conversation is already over. You rewrite messages in your head, sometimes you rewrite them on your phone, and sometimes you just delete everything because explaining yourself feels exhausting. After social events, you do not feel energized, you feel mentally cluttered. Not because people drained you, but because your mind collected every tone, every pause, every unspoken meaning. You do not need rest, you need quiet. But quiet is treated like a personality flaw. Here's the trap no one warns you about. When you do not understand how your mind works, you start treating yourself like the problem. You try to speak faster, even when your thoughts are not ready. You force confidence, even when clarity has not arrived yet. You learn to perform certainty, because hesitation is punished socially, so you mask. You smile when you are overwhelmed. You nod when you need time. You pretend things are simple just to avoid being labeled difficult. And here is the reality regarding those confident people you envy. The ones who answer fast and never look overwhelmed. Psychologists call this high-functioning masking. Many of the people you admire for their speed are simply performing. That colleague who seems so sure of herself? She might be battling high-functioning anxiety. That friend who always knows what to say, he rehearsed it in the mirror. You aren't seeing confidence. You are seeing fatigue covered in corporate makeup. And slowly, thinking becomes exhausting. Not because your mind is broken, but because you are constantly fighting its natural rhythm. You are not adapting. You are erasing yourself. You are mourning the person you were supposed to be. And the most dangerous part, people start praising you for it. You seem more confident now. You're easier to deal with. You've changed. Yes, you changed by becoming quieter inside and louder outside. That is not growth. That is survival. Here is the moment everything shifts. The same mind that exhausts you socially is the one that sees patterns other people miss. You notice emotional undercurrents. You anticipate consequences. You sense when something is off, long before anyone can explain why. While others react, you recognize. While others rush to speak, you wait and your words land heavier because of it. You do not just think faster or slower. You think deeper. That depth gives you perspective, emotional accuracy, and an almost unfair ability to read situations. You're not wired for noise. You are wired for insight. And once you stop apologizing for that, your mind stops feeling like a liability and starts behaving like a compass. Not everyone needs this kind of mind, but the people who do, really do. So the real question is not which kind of mind is better. That question is lazy. The real question is, do you understand how your mind actually works? Or are you still trying to live according to someone else's rhythm? Because once you stop comparing, something important happens. You stop explaining yourself to people who are never listening. You stop rushing clarity to meet someone else's comfort. You stop shrinking your thoughts to fit conversations that cannot hold them. You realize that misunderstanding was never proof that you were wrong. It was proof that you were different, in a world that prefers the familiar. And once you see that, you do not need to change how you think. You just need to stop pretending that your way of thinking is a mistake. So now I am curious, and not in a scientific way, in a very human one. Do you hear a constant inner voice commenting on everything you do? Or is your mind mostly quiet, clear, and suspiciously peaceful? And when did you first realize that your mind worked differently than the people around you? Because for many of you, the confusion did not start inside your head. It started when the world kept reacting to you as if you were speaking a language they never learned. So if this video felt uncomfortably accurate, you are not alone. You never were. You were just trying to exist in a world that forgot not every mind needs to be allowed to be deep. If this video gave you the language for something you have felt your entire life, you know exactly who else needs to hear it. Maybe it is for a friend. Maybe it is for a partner who calls you complicated. Or maybe you just need to keep it for yourself, as a reminder that your mind is not a problem to be fixed, but a library to be explored.